Hello, I'm David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, and I'm starting off the new year with a new video, and I'm starting off with a Lorcana video, and this is my Lorcana Not the Meta video. And why do I call it Not the Meta? Well, quite simply, as a card player, I've never really been super hardcore on the meta of any particular card game. Of course, I'm not very competitive, but I do like to play with just cards that I like, cards that I enjoy. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at my 61 run deck. So first, we're going to take a look at all my one-cost amber cards. The Queen. Oh, and you're going to find that a lot of these cards, I think there's only 3 or 4 cards in here that are non-inkable, because the more cards that are inkable, the quicker you get stuff out, and you're not holding dead cards in your hand. Alright, so the Queen, she's one cost, and she's a 2/2 for 1, so she's swinging for some decent damage. And it's nice to just get her out early. Lilo, she's, like I said, probably my only uninkable in here, and I've got 3 of her. What I really like, even though she's not as good challenge-wise as the Queen, is she quests for 2 lore, and I really like that. Stitch, well, because he's Stitch, he's a 2/2, and quests for 1 lore. Got a cold foil just because. And what I'm liking about Lorcana is right now I'm seeing a lot of prices drop, which is making the game more accessible and not ostracizing players because they don't have enough money to buy the big stuff. Even some of the enchanted cards that I've gotten recently, they're half the price what they used to be even just a couple months ago. Does that annoy me? Not terribly. Of course, I spent some money on some expensive cards, price dropped, but you know what? I'd rather see the game be more accessible to people than not. Alright. So, Sapphire, my one cost. I need some draw power in this deck because it's easy, being so inexpensive to put out. You only need 3 ink, and you can play anything in this deck, so it's pretty easy for me to run out of cards pretty quickly. So I've got Nothing to Hide, which allows me to reveal the opponent's hand, so I can see what they got, and then I get the draw card. And I've got a couple of those. Develop Your Brain, I'm looking at 2 cards at the top of my deck. One goes into my hand, and the other goes on the bottom of my deck. Of course, a lot of this stuff is the same. I want to play just about any of it, but at least, you know, if there's a choice between, let's say, the Queen and more draw power, maybe I'll take more draw power to keep getting further in my deck to get something better, like my Simba, for instance, for the bodyguard. So I've got 4 of those. Popsicle, more draw power. I play it, I draw a card. Plus, I could banish it to remove 2 damage from chosen character. Plus, also, I have Judy Hopps, which makes this card relevant, and I'll tell you why later on if you're not familiar with that. Okay, coming up next, we've got my 2-cost Amber. Simba is a no-brainer because he's a bodyguard. Bodyguards are really nice because they have to go through bodyguards first. He's a 2/3, and he only quests for 1 lore, but I do like that ability. Keeps the opponent's characters off of my characters, at least for, you know, at least they got to devote some resources to take him out. More draw power, Painting the Roses Red. It's nice that I can give 2 chosen characters -1 support, but also 2, I get the draw card. That's my big deal, is draw a card. Of course, this deck is also designed to where I am more likely to swing on other characters, so this can come in really handy to minimize the damage on my characters. And then I can use Popsicle to remove any additional damage, or of course I can use Popsicle in combination with Judy Hopps, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then also too, what's nice about Painting the Roses Red is I can exert a character with cost 2 or more to sing the song for free. So I can spend all my ink, play all my cards that I can, and then I can exert Simba. And since he's exerted, people have to challenge him now, since he's got bodyguard, and I get to play this for free. So not too bad. Again, keep in mind, this is not the meta. Alright, 2-cost Sapphire, 2/2 for 2, and quest for 2 lore. As you can see, I'm trying to get stuff that has as much lore as possible for the least amount of ink. Duke Weaselton, he's only 1/2, but he quests for 2. So definitely, again, these are, for this deck, these are some of the optimal cards that I'm looking for, because in no time, I'm swinging for 2 lore for each character. You get 3 characters out there swinging for 2 lore. That's 6 lore. It's going pretty fast. Even if characters are using, say, ruby to take away your lore, you're swinging for 2 every time. So even if someone uses, I can't remember the name of the card exactly, but it's got Rapunzel's hair on it and Flynn all tangled up. I think it might be Tangle, I don't know. But I lose 1 lore. Well, at least every turn I'm swinging for 2, so I'm still always gaining 1 lore against that kind of attack. Or song, I should say. Okay. Or I think it's an actual action card. I think it's an action card. Anyways, doesn't matter. But anyways, all my cards in here, questing for 2 lore. That's the big thing. And they're cheap. Mulan, plus she's got support. She can give support to any other character, which is super nice because I do use these characters, again, to attack my opponent's characters. And even if I were to quest with Mulan and give her willpower to Aurora, now she's hitting for 4, take out just about most characters or cut large characters down to size so a smaller character can finish them off. And that's why I have Mulan again, 2/3 for 3 and 2 lore, questing for 2 lore. Now here's a card I really like. That's Piglet. He's a 2/4, so he's very robust, I feel. And he's questing for 2, and he's only 3 cost. I definitely, if the next set, which I'm excited for, has, and I haven't seen any spoilers or anything, so if they have a 3 cost card that's a 2/4 that's questing for 2 lore, I'm all for it. Even if it's a 0/4, I'm all for it. And of course, gotta have some Mickey Mouse in there. 3/3 for 3, questing for 2 lore. All right. Now we're getting to the 3 cost Sapphire part of the deck. And you see I've got probably the most cards are 3 cost Sapphire. Judy Hopps, this is what I was talking about earlier, because what I can do is I can play my Popsicle for 1, I draw a card, and then I've got Judy Hopps here, so I play her, and then I can banish this item, because I would rather banish this item to draw yet another card, instead of sacrificing that to remove 2 damage from a chosen character. It just kind of depends where I'm at and what's happening in the game. More than likely, I will always banish Popsicle with Judy Hopps to draw that extra card, to keep cards in my hand, because you always want options, and that's the important thing, is if you don't have cards in your hand, you are out of options. You're drawn from the top of the deck, you're top decking, and you don't want to do that if you can avoid it. You want options so you can react to things as they happen. Again, she's a 2/3, questing for 2, so really nice. Jasmine, 3/3 for 3, questing for 2 lore. Alice, now this is one of my more unique cards in here. Of course, my enchanted rare right there I got from one of my employees, because I've yet to be able to actually pull an enchanted rare on my own. So she's a 1/4, and other characters gain support, so when they quest, they can add their willpower to another chosen character's willpower this turn. And while she has 10 or more willpower, she gets +4 lore. And I've got 4 of them, and she only quests for 1 lore, but she's fairly robust because she's a 1/4. And I would not hesitate early game to ink her, because my goal is not necessarily to use horribility. It just depends. If it's convenient and the time is right, I'll play her. But if I've only got 1 or 2 lore out, it is unlikely that I'll play her right away. I'll definitely use her for extra ink, because I got 3 others that I'm likely to come across, especially with my draw power. As you can see, I got Winnie the Pooh. He's a 2/3, questing for 2 lore. And when he quests, I can also put a card from my hand into my inkwell face down. And that way, it gives me just a little bit of ink ramp. Or if you're a Magic player, mana ramp. So basically all that is, mana ramp, ink ramp. It just means you are building up additional ink quicker than you normally would. That's what ramping is. And I got Winnie the Pooh. 1, 2. And then I've also thought about putting the Detective Mickey in there, where I could take a card off my deck and put down to play, but I decided not to, because I seem to do pretty good with this thus far. Now I've got Belle in there. She's not super useful with her ability, just because I only have the 4 items. But if I were to get this early game, player, quest, and I happen to draw into a Popsicle, like the turn after or something, then this isn't too bad. It just coincidentally happens to work out nice. But she's a 3 cost, 2/3. And again, the big thing is that I'm trying to keep it under 4, and I'm questing for 2 lore. My Caterpillar, he's a 1/3 for 3, questing for 3 lore. And that is my 61 run deck. The whole purpose of this is to get him out fast and run to the end. Run as quick as I can to get to 20 lore. Doesn't matter what the other guy's doing. What's nice is this generally doesn't have, of course, I'm kind of at a loss if my opponent has stuff with evasive, then this deck definitely could run into some problems. But I'm hoping that because everybody's trying to play into other combos and higher cost cards potentially, that maybe I might have just enough of an edge to edge out my opponent and to get to 20 before they can. Especially as time goes on, I've played against a blue ramp deck where he's got Detective Mickey's, he's got Talia, he's got that card like One Jump Ahead that lets you put a card into your Inkwell, Fishbone Quill that lets you exert that card and again put something into your Inkwell, and he'll have almost 3 times as much ink as I do, but yet I'm still right there keeping up with him because all my stuff is inexpensive and his stuff is slightly higher. I mean, he's got a lot of 4-cost stuff, but if for every, I mean, look at if he plays 3 4-cost items, that's 12. That allows me to play 4 3-cost items. So I'm coming out ahead cheaper. And as time goes on, I may try to modify some of this. I might drop an Alice to add something else, especially if some new characters come out, or I just might decide that I'll go through all my cards and see something better that I like to make this deck a little bit better. Maybe more bodyguards, I don't know. Again, I'm trying to avoid stuff that is uninkable, so the only thing I don't have that's inked is Lilo, but I think that was a small price to pay considering how good she is. I mean, she's already rare, she's a 1-drop, and she quests for 2. Pretty good. Another thing I like about a lot of my characters that are 3/3 or 2/3 is there are some characters out there that have resist, and of course the more damage I can do, the better off I'm going to be. Even if someone has resist 2, you know, that could cause me a problem. But that's where then I'm just running to the end trying to get to 20 lore as quick as I can. And with this kind of deck, don't hesitate to play. Play and go. Play and go. If it's someone you haven't played with before, you could probably wait a turn or 2, build up, but as soon as they play something, then start playing your cards and get going. Try to get the end as quick as possible. Ideally, every turn you should lay something down. You should try and quest as much as possible. The way this deck is, sometimes I do hold back just enough to challenge the other opponent's characters so I can get them off the field so I can keep building my characters and questing. So sometimes I won't quest. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, this is my Lorcana, not the meta video on my 61 run deck. So hopefully if you try this build, you'll enjoy it, have fun, and see that it is fairly quick. On a competitive level, maybe not so much. Like if you're in a tournament, you might do okay, but you'll probably be maybe closer to the bottom, I suspect. Although I have not used this deck in a tournament yet. All depends on what the other people are playing. Depends on how well you can actually play this deck, because you got to know your cards, and you've got to play it several times. You really got to get the feel of the deck, know what's coming, know what to expect, and just remember you just got to go with this deck. So hopefully this is a nice, fun, casual build, and hopefully you enjoy it. And I'm David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild. Thanking you for watching, and I hope you stay safe, play great games, and I'll see you real soon.